Welcome back to Budget Home Classics. I'm Frank, and we're inside my 1983 VW T3 Vanagon. It's a T3, and the exterior is mostly done now. Couple of little nitty gritty bits, but we're mostly concentrating on the interior. The interior work has slowly begun. I'm at home, this isn't the workshop. You might have seen some of my earlier videos. I'm working on my Rover V8 replacement engine in the workshop, and the Jensen's there at the minute, so yeah, that space is taken up. So in the evenings I'm working on this. This is at home. Here's the plan. I haven't really got one, but I've got an outline of a sort of a plan with the interior. Like everybody else, and like you at home with a project on the go, I've got a lot of ground to cover, and rather than me trying to think of everything at once, I'm going to like sod everything off. Where do I start? And I've decided now I'm going to go and get some plywood. I'm going to get some wood. Nothing too much, just a bit, couple of lengths of thin stuff, and I'm going to start on the door cards. I'm going to start door cards. I'm going to use the old ones as a template, cut new ones out. So I'm going to go and get the materials for that later on. Hopefully that should be enough to do a couple of the walls, doors I mean, maybe. Then I'm going to start on the floor, because I've realised now I can't put anything in until I've done the floor, and that's going to be rust proofed, all gone through, and then it'll be insulated, lay plywood down, and then I'm going to look at a nice floor to put in. Once the floor's in, I can then start mapping out where I want my cabinets to go, where I want to do the beds. So I'll do the walls then next, so floors then walls. Then I can lay out the structure for the cabinets and storage, really. Last, I'm going to do bed and then ceiling. So if you haven't already realised by now, I mean, it's pretty long. So pause the video now if I were you. Go and stick the kettle on and make yourself a cup of tea. Grab yourself some Garibaldi's, maybe a custard cream or two, and bang some sugar in the tea if you're feeling brave. And I'll catch you. I suppose we may as well start on the floor. Yeah, we'll do that. Alright, I'll see you over there in a second. So looking at the floor, there's quite a bit of rust that's starting to come through. Obviously this is all pretty dirty as well. You can see there's quite a lot of rust that's starting to come through. Some I have already treated. There is a hole which I might have to deal with at some point. There's a hole there as well. So I'm probably going to have to cut this out and weld a flat plate in there. The rest of it's not too bad, but anywhere where I can see rust starting to come through, where it's just, yeah, I'm going to dig into all of it and get it all done. These bits as well I found, and on there. Oh, also in here as well, there's some pretty nasty looking, it's not eating anything away, but it's starting to look like it's rusting in there, just along those sills. So I'm going to try and wire brush them as best I can and get them red oxidized as well. So I'm going to need to get an angle grinder in here, I think. Goddamn. Please don't feel as though this is disingenuous. This stuff takes hours. It really does take a lot of time. And there's parts where I'm grinding, taking off rust, surface rust mostly, a lot of pitted stuff though, pitted areas. And then it'll get to a point where I'll hit this edge behind you guys, filler. Loads of filler, loads of like plastic mastic stuff, stinking. And then I'll get down there and there's like a repair piece of metal that's just been rubbered in there, and there's no weld, there's no metal, it's just, I mean, and that's fine. It's like on the exterior with the bodywork where it was just fillered over rust. I'm finding a bit of that, which is a little bit annoying. I mean, it's not the end. It's a, you know, it's an old bloody van, but if that's all they could do at the time, that's all they could do. There's nothing wrong with that. But for me, I'm finding it and I'm like, I sort of don't want that there, because I'm going to paint all this and then I'm going to seal it and then I'm going to lay wood and like hardwood floor down on top of this. So I sort of want it to be right now before I bury it. Of course, I'll lay stuff down so that it can be took out, but I don't really want to be doing that once I've got everything in. But yeah, please don't feel as though I'm being disingenuous when I edit all this stuff. This does take a long time. Oh. Right. Genuinely been at this 2 hours. Nearly done though. Nearly done. Nearly done. Hello? Is everything okay in there? Okay. New metal tomorrow. It's too bloody late. Right, today I need to make a new one of those. So first things first, I'm going to grind all around here so I've got something to weld to, and then I'll cut a piece this size, I'll flatten this out, cut a piece that size, and then I'll use, I suppose, this as a form, and with a hammer beat the new metal to shape and then weld it in. That's the crack. Here's a trick for you. So I haven't got a tool to take this off. You don't need one. So lock it off, make sure it's unplugged first, press the stop on the back so it's locked off, and then grip the disc and just twist it and it'll come off. And it doesn't matter how tight it is, just twist that disc and it'll pull it off. It's a little bit more tricky with the cutting discs, but it's still possible if you're very careful. And then tightening them, not many people know this, but you don't actually have to tighten them that hard because the momentum of the wheel and the disc tighten it themselves anyway. So you don't need one of those, because then you lose it and then you're like trying to zip tie it to here and then, yeah, you don't need it. Right, I've got some primer here as well. It's just 1K epoxy primer. Got the hardware, got the paint. I've got too much of it really, but I'm just going to mix a bit of that up and then paint this by hand with a brush because I haven't got a spray gun, so that'll be fine. I don't see why I can't do that with a brush. Anyway, I digress. So the metal I've got is just, it looks like 3mm to be honest, and it cost me £2 and it was out of an offcut bin at a metalworks shop on an industrial estate near Wen, actually. Yeah, that was it, £2. Nice. Ignore the, you know, my first welds here. But you can see now where I've had an overlap. Now all I'm doing with the cutting disc is just going along this and cutting a new line, and then they match then. So I'm just going to cut a new line all the way up and then weld it, and then I need to, well, before I weld this side, I need to weld this side properly and then hammer this in. And then that's just how I'm going to do it, all right? Don't judge me. I'm not a welder. I'm just trying to do the best I can. Just leave me alone. I'm stacking some dog shit now. Christ. I mean, it's by no way pretty. It may or may not be better than what was there before, but this is what I've got. Right, I'm going to grind all this flat, I think. This has, with the heat, caved in a little bit, but I mean, it was that, and now it is not that. So it's not going to be on show. I'll grind all this flat, make sure that there's no cavities or anything, make sure that it's solid metal all the way through, and then I'll just call it done. I'll just close my eyes and just forget about it, and it's never there. It was never there, okay? Alrighty. Oh, anus. Right, first coat done. I'll have to do a couple of coats. I want to get it nice and thick, nice and protected. Oh, it's starting to rain now. Yeah, I want to get it nice and protected. I'll do a few coats, and then yeah, I'll look at insulation and then finishing the floor off. Nice. Sun's out, but it's raining. Yesterday, sun was out, and it was hailing. Not cool. Get it then. Jesus. So, it's getting quite late, so I'll keep it short. Floor, you've just seen. Scraped it all back, ground it all back, welded some repair piece, got rid of all the rust. Oh. And then painted it, primed it, painted it, okay? Then measured, went and got some plywood, and I cut out enough for the floor. This section here. Cut that out for the floor, and then I've got some insulation from China. It's extremely cheap, but it's pretty good. Very sticky. Do yourself a favour when you're cutting it into strips. Use a sharp Stanley blade, not a blunt one, because you'll find if you use a blunt one, you'll be picking the paper off the back for about 19 million years like I did. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to insulate between these, and I'm going to lay the plyboard on top and then drill it down, the plyboard down, to hold it all flat. And then once that's done, I'm going to have a look at doing the plyboard for this wall. And then once that's done, for that and the back, once that's done, I'm going to start knocking up the frame for the cupboards and the storage this side, and the fridge, and might put a drawer in or something for this side. Now I'm only going to mock them up for the time being, because I don't need to get it all hunky-dory straight away. I just need to mock it up and get the framing in place, because then once the framing's in place, I can then start doing the bed, designing the bed. I'm not going to get a rock and roll bed. I'm going to design and make my own one from scratch. Never done that before, so you know the drill. It's probably going to look crap, but I can't start designing the bed until everything else, the floor and then the framing for the storage, has been done and is in place. Because then I'll know how much room I've got for the bed, where I want it to hinge. I want a sort of like a front seat and a back seat sort of jobby, and then it folds out into a bed. But at the same time, the front needs to fold up because I need access to the battery box and the leisure battery. And then the back needs to fold up because I need access to the engine bay. So it's gonna be pretty, I don't know where I'm gonna fix it. So, because the center of it needs to corsetina up like an accordion, so that when it folds up, you know, so I'm not quite sure where I'm going to fix it just yet. So anyway, yeah, so more of this. Oh. Okay, so a couple of points on insulation. You can get sound deadening stuff, which I'm going to do anyway, which I was supposed to put on the inside of that and I forgot, but I've just reminded myself, so there you go. So I've got sticky back stuff, which is what I cut into strips for the floor. I've got rolls of that, so I'm going to sticky back that. And then insulation, that stuff should be waterproof. The insulation, it doesn't matter whether you use this stuff or conventional house insulation, but whatever you do, you need to waterproof it so that it's not porous, so that it can't hold water. So if water does get in somehow and this soaks it up, that will hold water and it will rot everything out from the inside. So you've got to membrane it. Now I've seen people put the insulation in and then membrane it over like this, which I don't think, well, because obviously that you'll get condensation as well. I thought I could membrane this, but condensation will still be able to get in through the holes, and then if it does get in there, it will get trapped. Because as hot air on the inside touches the cold metal of the outside, it will vaporize, it will turn into condensation, turn into water. So I thought, rather than sealing this off, or trying to seal this off, I'll just wrap these in, I'll just waterproof the insulation, because then if water does get in, whatever. I'm making it up. I have no idea what I'm doing. I have actually no idea what I'm doing. I'm trying to explain the thought process that I've been through as I've been doing it. Because it's like anything, everyone has their own opinion and everyone has their own way of doing it. So I'm going to try this. If it doesn't work, I'll change it. I'm going to do the same for these, the sides, the sliding door. Because then I'll check every couple of years. I can take the board off the sliding door, and if there's water in there, if this isn't working, I can just change it. So that's where I'm at. So the floor you just saw me do, so I've got strips in between the ridges, and then I laid a full cork membrane, it's like a fibrous, like a sound deadening and insulation sheet, and then I've screwed the plyboard down on top of it. This isn't the floor, don't worry, remain calm. This plywood is just a foundation for the floor, which is going to be a solid wood floor, I think. Or maybe some lino or something like that, something that's easy to replace. Probably solid wood floor, but I need to think about how I'm going to do the edge. because there needs to be an edge there on the step, so I've still got to work that out. Now once I've done these, I'm going to cut these out of plywood. We're going to do one half and then the second half. Once I've done these two and they're fitted in, I'm then going to map out and start working with some tape and work out where my units are going to go, how deep the fridge is, where the countertop's going to come up to, and I'm going to start making the frame for it all on this side and mocking it up. That's probably as far as I'm going to go today. We'll see how we get on tomorrow. It's like tar. It's supposed to be sound deadening, soundproofing insulation stuff. God knows what it is. But as long as it does something along those lines, I'm quite happy, you know. Oh. Oh no! Oh. I was about to say how satisfying that is. Oh. That's alright, isn't it? Very, very mucky. Oh, well, I don't know how well it's going to be, but should do alright. Try and get all the air bubbles out of it. Great. Well, I just need to do another one of them for there now. It's all coming together. Right, so the insulation's gone in now, and now I've cut the plyboard to fit, and I'm not using the same holes, but I'm using the same holes as a guide. So the original holes are about here, so I'll mark, and then 3/4 of an inch down, let's say on here, I'll mark it here, and then 3/4 of an inch down I'll drill a hole, and then I'll mark it on the top. So when I come to marry this up and go, right, that's where the hole is, measure 3/4 of an inch down, pre-drill the metal, and then I can pre-drill this and then put a screw through them. So I've just done all of these along, and then I'll do probably down. I'll probably leave the floor because it'll be behind all the units. I won't be bothered about that. This will come back off. So this is me just drilling and then fitting. This will all come back off because I've got to sand and paint all around here yet, and yeah, I've got work to do yet, but I'm trying to get ahead of myself a little bit, ahead of the game. So yeah, there you go. I mean, it's rough, but I thought I'd start with this one because all the units and the cupboards and the fridge and stuff, all that's going to go there. This next piece is going to be funky to cut because I want to try and do that back piece out of one piece of plywood. However, if you look, this bit's sort of not quite curvy, but then there's a curvy bit, so making sure that doesn't crack along there is going to be interesting. But that's the next piece I'm going to do. So fill all that full of it. In fact, before I do the insulation, I'm going to try and cut this piece of wood. That'll probably take me the rest of the afternoon. And yeah, like I said, all these are going to come back out again, and then I'll sand and paint all around what I need to, sort all this out. Walls, units, bed, ceiling last. Just a little bit of rust proofing on the ceiling, just on some bare metal bits. But yeah, all that'll get insulated, sound deadened, needs to be good stuff. And then I'll get some plywood on there. I don't think I'm going to get a single sheet that's going to run the whole length. So my idea, right, is to get as far as I can, probably up to here, and I'll do the cab separate. So you'll notice that I've left the door cards on and everything. The cab's untouched. I'm going to leave the cab. I'm going to do the back first. Once all this done, ceiling, walls, all the bed, everything's done, then I'll move on to the cab. So making this bit, what I've done is I've measured from the top to the lowest point, which is 32 inches. And then I've measured from the furthest back point to the furthest front, which is 59 inches. Right, so I've got a square, a rectangle that size now. Now I want to get this shape out, and it's this angle that's going to do me in. So the way I'm going to work out this angle and transfer it via a Sharpie onto the piece of wood over there is I'm going to measure this point first, which is 9.5 inches from here to here. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure this point from here to here. And then I'm going to draw a line on my piece of wood between there and there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure here this point, and then I'll curve it out on the piece of wood, and then I'll cut it out. I think that's what I'm going to do anyway. So that is, I'm going to say 17.5. So 17.5, and that is at the height of that. So 17.5. 13 inches and 3/4. So 13 inches platform, 13 inches and 3/4. At that height, I'm going to cut 17.5 inches. Am I? No, I'm going to, yeah. 13 3/4. 17.5. 13 3/4. 17.5. 17.5. Right, so we've got first measurement here. I've got to write it down, otherwise I'll forget. 13 3/4, that's 17.5. You alright? What's up? It's okay, come on. You okay? So, I'm just trying to work out this angle and how to do it. Tell them. 9.5. So it was 13 3/4 up. So I'll mark that. And at that height, I need to cut. I need to go back 17.5. So about that much. We'll take a little bit off. About there. I think. Is that right? Yes. So that means from that point to that point I need a straight edge. Don't have a straight edge. Have a straight edge. From there to there needs to be cut out. You alright? Yep. Right. So there is another angle here which we just saw in the van. But we're going to work that out in a minute. All it is now that I know that point, that distance, and I can work out where that edge is, I can now work out how far down that second point is going to be, and then I can measure that, and then put a dot, and then line, there we go. So now I know that everything back of here is the engine bay. I like that. And there's our shape, just about. So I'll cut this out and then do a little bit more faffing, because you'll realise that you'll cut this out and you go to fit it, and there'll be stuff that you've missed, or this is a little bit too much, so you'll have to take another couple of mil off that. And I did start using a jigsaw, but the jigsaw ate the plywood really badly, so I've just gone back to my Spear & Jackson, just normal hand saw. I did not buy this. This is a fantastic saw. The army bought this. I'm just borrowing it. About 3/4 of an inch, that extra angle. So I'm going to do that. That's on there. Yeah, right. Well, it's about 20 minutes in a clap. Let's go and see if it fits. I mean, would you look at that? Hey? I'll take that. I'm absolutely chuffed with that. Right, gap at the back. So there's an angle at the back, obviously where the boot curves down, so I need to cut that out, and then that side done. I wanted to do this side first because all the units and storage and stuff is going on that side, so I thought if I make any mistakes or if it looks an arse, this is the start to learn, this is the side to learn on. Make my mistakes here, because that side needs to look good, because it'll be on show. I'm bloody chuffed with that. Right, next. Obviously now this is done, I need 2 of these, so I'm going to outline the trace on a new piece of plywood, and then I can get this back in, and then I don't have to worry about measuring it again. I can just cut out the other one. Nice. Okay. It's coming off better than I thought it would. Oh, it's bloody good stuff, whatever it is. I hope they still sell it. Just mixing some primer for the walls. Hey, so I'm probably going to cut this short and do like a 2-parter or maybe a million-parter, but I'm going to cut the video short rather than trying to do it all in one go, just because it's going to be a lot. But to you guys doing a project at the minute, right, the biggest holding factor for me is getting things right, getting it so it looks good. The thing is, you can put in as much time as you want into it. If you want it to look perfect, if I wanted this to look perfect, I would spend months doing this. But I don't want to wait that long. I want it to get there or thereabouts so it looks good from a distance and that it's functional. So that's what I'm doing. And to be honest, it's not going that bad. The thing is, you could spend as much time as you want doing this. It depends how much time you want to invest in it. So yeah, I'm doing it so that it's functional, so that it's rust proof, and so I can use it. I'm not going to take it to like show it or exhibit it or anything like that. I want to use it and I want it to look cool, so that's what I'm going for. So yeah, don't worry about it. Paint primer on with a paintbrush. You know, use spray cans that are £4 a can. It doesn't matter. As long as you're happy with it, as long as it gets to where you want it to be so you can use it and enjoy it. I'll catch you in the next one. See you later.